It's a big year for Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes because this is the year in which they have to make the college football playoff. And not only that, but prove that they can win it all. This is a talented group, and honestly, it's just the expectation. This is a team who expects to win national championships, not just compete for them. And they have a group that is more than capable of doing that. They made some additions on defense that will help them, and the offensive production and explosive playmakers they have returning, especially in this top 10, is going to make them one of the most terrifying teams to stop in all of college football this year. Everything starts with CJ Stroud. We talk about where is he in terms of best college football quarterbacks. And when you look at what he's capable of doing, he has a great frame in terms of a quarterback and what you're looking for. He has a great arm. He has the ability to make throws that are ridiculously difficult, whether that's over the shoulder, whether that's between defenders, between levels of defenders. He can do it all. And it took a little bit of time for him to get kind of comfortable last year. I think he needed just some time to get acclimated to the offense as well as the college football game itself. But once you saw him get comfortable, things changed mightily. And especially in the Rose Bowl game against Utah, this is a guy who was slinging it. And obviously, it helps when you have a guy like Jackson Smith-Njigba. But with the talent they have returning, you look at what they did in the Rose Bowl with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave out, and Stroud was slinging it to everybody. It didn't matter who was catching the football. He was throwing things pretty much perfectly. You're looking at an offense that's going to thrive because he's running the show, and the passing attack is not one that you're going to want to face on a consistent basis because Stroud is going to be arguably the number one overall pick in next year's NFL draft. And I think that's where he'll be for me. And it's easy to see why. You see what he's capable of doing. You see the arm talent. You see the throws that he makes. And a lot of them can be NFL throws. And he has the talent to do that. And he's working with guys in the offseason that will make him even better. Number two, we already talked about him. Jackson Smith-Njigba actually led the team in receiving last year, despite everybody talking about Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. And that's even with them sitting out of the Rose Bowl game. He was the leading receiver last year, and it's probably going to be the same this year. He had an absolute monster game in the Rose Bowl. Everybody watch that. It's not anything new. You all know about that, but it's his ability to make plays after the catch, his ability to make guys look silly even after he catches the ball. Now, he's not a physically imposing receiver. It's not like he dwarfs everybody that he faces. But his ability to use his quickness to get open and then his ability to work well in space, to make defenders really work to try and take him down, whether that's with quickness, throw a little bit of a stiff arm there, make some incredible throws. I mean, one of the throws that CJ Stroud made last year, so I should say catches for Smith-Njigba, what the over-the-shoulder catch that we all remember, his final touchdown against Utah, was absolutely incredible. Great body control, his awareness to know how to catch the football, really looking at it almost upside down, was simply incredible, and it's going to be fun to watch these two play again this year. Lost in the passing success was TreVeyon Henderson, and that's really funny to say because he had over 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns on the ground. Now, he's also an incredible threat as a pass catcher, had 27 catches for 312 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's another weapon that they can utilize as if they didn't have enough. Now, he's also a great runner. I'm really impressed with his acceleration. He made a lot of runs look more explosive than they should have been because he accelerates through defenders, he accelerates through the hole, and if you're not in the right position, even if you are in the right position, a lot of times you're not going to be able to take him down because he's just that quick. Also has really good contact balance. A lot of guys try to take him down and find that it's not very easy. He's able to stay on his feet and make big runs, and sometimes he makes short runs into decent gains, and those are some of the impressive runs that we see from him as well. Now, we talked about the defense. The defense was the weakness of Ohio State last year. And Ryan Day made a change, brings in Jim Knowles to run the defense, comes from Oklahoma State, one of the better defenses in all of college football last year. And you get a guy like Ronnie Hickman back. That's really exciting for the Ohio State fan base. This is an all Big Ten type talent who had 99 tackles last year. Again, I'll say this again for any team with your safety that high in tackles is usually not a good thing. Now, if your safety can make plays, which Ronnie Hickman can, then that's great. But you don't want him being that high. That means that he's doing a lot of cleanup duty And you don't want your third level to be making those kinds of plays frequently. You rather have him be, tackles for loss would be more impressive because that means that he's disrupting the backfield. He's not making tackles 10, 15 yards downfield. And if you can get more, passes defended, interceptions, that kind of stuff. That's really what I'm excited to see with Knowles running the show is what Hickman does in terms of production and how they utilize him to make him more disruptive instead of doing that cleanup duty. Marvin Harrison Jr., a name that everybody's pretty much known since the Rose Bowl game. Everyone talked about him even before that, I guess. You're looking at a guy, the name obviously stands out. You know who his dad is. You know what the lineage is there and the potential talent. And we saw that in the Rose Bowl game. One of the biggest blessings was Wilson and Olave deciding not to play in the Rose Bowl because a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. got a chance to step up, and boy, did he deliver. Made a lot of nice catches, reminded everybody of dad and what he was able to do, and just shows that he's going to be probably the number 2 receiver on this team. I don't think anybody else really is going to challenge him, but there are some talented guys behind him that will push. And it's going to be fun to see what he and CJ Stroud are capable of doing and what that offense is going to do in terms of what do the guys bring to the table that can make them even better than last year, which is terrifying to say. Paris Johnson, whether he plays guard, tackle, he's going to be an all Big Ten player. You're looking at an experienced offensive lineman, and this is going to be a pretty good line. You look at Luke Weipler's back, DeJuan Jones is back. There's so much talent, and obviously the recruit at a great level still under Ryan Day, so it's not going to take a step back. Protecting CJ Stroud is the biggest priority because if they don't do that, if CJ Stroud doesn't have time to throw, then he's in trouble. However, I don't foresee that being a problem. Paris Johnson is going to do a phenomenal job of that, and this offensive line is going to keep CJ Stroud upright to keep this offense going at an explosive rate. Now, we've talked about 3 of the explosive playmakers for this offense. I think one to keep an eye on still is Emeka Egbuka. You look at what he did last year, only 9 catches. So that's not really anything that you just gawk at. You're looking at 21.2 yards per catch with him. And that's exciting. That is explosive potential. And some of the catches that he made, especially the one in the Rose Bowl, those are exciting plays. And that it can be someone who everybody's going to know what Jackson Smith-Njigba can do. Everybody knows Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be really good. But a guy like Egbuka can step up because teams are focusing on everybody else, and that leaves you with typically one-on-one matchups that you can exploit, that you can utilize if you're CJ Stroud. You can put JSN and Marvin Harrison Jr. on one side and just leave Egbuka one-on-one with a corner and just attack that all day. And that spreads the field out even more. I think this is a luxury that not a lot of teams have, and one that Ohio State is definitely going to capitalize on this year. Putting defenders on this list was kind of tough, honestly. I really like Denzel Burke. I think he's going to thrive. If you look at what Jim Knowles did at Oklahoma State, you look at the defensive backs that they had and how successful they were, I think that means really good things for Denzel Burke. Obviously, there's a bunch of other players you could have put here, but I think the secondary is going to love what they're getting. Also, the defensive line, I'm really terrified of if you're playing Ohio State this year. But Denzel Burke had a lot of experience. Teams tested him quite frequently with some mixed results. But I think that with Knowles running the show, Denzel Burke is the guy who's going to step up and have a really good year for them. It was tough leaving so many guys off, but Julian Fleming is another guy like Emeka Egbuka, is one of those guys that I think could be a good playmaker for Ohio State. Now, maybe there are some durability issues with him, but I just think that he's such a talented player that if one of those guys can't go, or if they're just not cutting it, I doubt that happened. But if that's the case, Julian Fleming is probably the best 4th option for any team in college football, and one that can, again, just like Egbuka, if he's left one-on-one with the matchup, I really like what he can do. And that's going to be just only a bonus for this offense, an offense that is incredibly talented, incredibly deep. And honestly, I'm having trouble finding teams that will be able to stop them with ease. Finally, and we can have an argument about who should be in the 10th spot. I'm just really excited for Jack Sawyer. I think that he came into Ohio State and everybody had so much excitement. He just needed to wait his time. And look at what Oklahoma State's defensive linemen did under Jim Knowles. Look at the talent they have. I mean, even this year, they returned one of the best groups, if not the best groups of defensive ends in the entire country. And that's because Jim Knowles was able to really cultivate that talent and create it into a dominant force. And now you have 4 and 5 star type talents like Jack Sawyer and like others that are going to be really exciting to watch. And obviously Zach Harrison is back. You know, you could look at plenty of guys on this list. I just really like Jack Sawyer. I think that he's going to be a phenomenal talent for this team, and that's saying a lot because of the talent that's returning to this team and the talent they have coming in as freshmen. This is a team that, again, championship or bust for Ohio State. There's no doubt about that. And if they're not able to do that, it's going to be a disappointment. You look at what the offense has returning, there's no reason why they shouldn't average 40-plus points a game, even close to 50 probably with what they have back. They have one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback, depending on your opinion, in college football. At worst, he's top 2. You have one of the best running backs, definitely a top 5 running back. You have arguably the best receiver in college football, and then your second and third options probably will push to be potentially top 25, top 30 wide receivers in the country. And you have a coordinator in Jim Knowles, who was one of the best defensive coordinators in college football last year. There's no reason a college football playoff championship isn't on the table, and there's no reason why they can't meet those expectations.